This past week, I went to Ancora, which is a stationery shop by Sailor, with two of my pen friends, Mid-Eye Cat and Mitsuko from My Life Mits. Little did I know that was a big mistake, as both of these ladies are very knowledgeable about stationery and as a consequence are huge enablers. I'll be putting out my video on Ancora next week, but in the meantime, I'd like to talk about something they enabled me to get. I blame them. I thought I was done with the traveler's notebook, but I don't think I am. We had gone on to Loft, and there I saw traveler's notebooks, B-sides, and rarities, and that's what I'll be covering today and how that affected my change in using the traveler's notebook. About a week ago, Traveler's Notebook released their Traveler's Notebook B-Sides and Rarities. It's been about 15 years since Traveler's Notebook was released, and they say in their write-up that during this 15 years they had explored all kinds of styles and papers for their inserts. These B-Sides and Rarities are kind of like what they consider the B-side of a vinyl record. The A-side is the main thing, the hit song, and the B-side is kind of subsidiary to that. All of these inserts were not released before, and they decided to release them all at the same time. And they weren't released before because maybe they didn't think it was going to do real well, or they said it didn't fit in with their overall aesthetic. I'll cover each of the new inserts and then explain how I got back into using the Traveler's Notebook. This insert was the craziest. It's called their Washable Paper. Their write-up says that the paper is made from the same material as a laundry paper tag, and it's made specifically to get wet. The paper, it feels a little bit strange, maybe a little bit waxy. It's all blank and there's 48 pages of it, and I thought I would try writing with it in different kinds of ink. In this regular ink, which is Sailor, felt normal. And so did the Iroshizuku Edo Murasaki. I was curious that maybe the paper would make it through the water, but if you didn't have waterproof ink on the paper, maybe the ink would just run off. So I tried a waterproof ink too. This one is De Atramentis' Document Blue. Then I tried what I think is an iron gall ink. It's from Uffizi and Strozzi. It's called Firenze, and I got it at N Story. And it was a little bit difficult to write with, I think both because I was in a flex and also because this paper is just a little bit waxy feeling. It's a light gray, and here you can see the light gray part, and then here's an older bit of writing that's all black. It had a really strong acidic smell, and you can see from the writing that I had a little bit of problem with it. And then I tried Sailor in a flex and had problems with that too. I think for some reason just wasn't gripping or sucking the ink out of these flex nibs, and I had some problem with flex. Only the iron gall ink ended up bleeding through to the other side. They say this thing can handle a washing machine, and I was thinking, I have a washing machine. So I washed it with some old dark colored cleaning rags, and it was in warm water too. But it made it through the wash. Here I am pulling it out, and it looks pretty crumpled. Was skeptical, but it was pretty amazing. Even the ink that was not waterproof at all still was on the paper, and the paper held up really well. So I would say this lives up to the hype. So if you're one of those adventurous types, you want to make sure that all your paper is this kind of paper. So if you accidentally drop your traveler's notebook in a river or something, all of it will be safe. The next one is this sticker release paper. It's basically the kind of paper that your sticker is stuck on when you buy it. You can either pull off stickers from your sheet or even masking tape, washi tape, and stick it on there, and you can travel with different kinds of stickers that you want. Or a handy thing you could use it for is when you get down to the last few stickers on a huge sheet, you could just take the leftover stickers and stick it in here. And the stickers retain their stickiness. Here I'm pulling off one and then just sticking it someplace else, and it sticks just fine. There's a cow on the front of this one. I'm not sure why. This one is called Message Card, and it's filled with 5 pages of 4 cards per page on perforated cardstock and 5 pages of 3 cards per page on perforated cardstock. You're supposed to be able to tear out these little cards and then write little nice notes and hand them out to people, which I think is kind of strange. In testing with just regular ink, the cardstock is very sturdy and very good. It's smooth and handles a fountain pen very well. Where I see this useful is that lots of times you're running around and you want to just tear off a little piece of paper to make a note or pass, a number to somebody or something, and you're always having to try to rip paper out of a journal, and it would be nice to be able to just rip something out very easily without destroying your journal. It also handled a 3.8 parallel, the document blue, waterproof ink, the iron gall ink, and then heavy flex with the sailor ink, and it didn't bleed through to the other side, so it was very good cardstock. So perhaps you could use this to carry around and to be able to tear off a piece of paper or something when you wanted to take a quick note or something. Next up is their Accordion fold paper, and it's exactly what you think it is. It's a piece of paper that accordions all the way out, so it's a long piece of paper. It's made of thick watercolor paper, so you can do all kinds of creative stuff with it. And again, I tried several normal inks with it, a waterproof document ink, the iron gall ink, and some heavy flex, and the paper all handled it really well. Some people may think that this is not a very useful refill or insert, but I can see, like, if you're traveling and you wanted to draw like a larger picture, or you wanted to make a map or some sort of timeline, or if you're solving a problem and you want to make a flow chart or something, this would be pretty handy. And this refill is the one I was the most excited about. It's their super lightweight paper, and I got it in both the small passport size and the normal size. This is, quote, even thinner and lighter than our lightweight paper refill, so it's like onion skin. The paperwork says the paper itself does not allow for oil to penetrate easily, so it is hard to smear when using a fountain pen. I really don't know what that means, because fountain pen ink isn't made of oil. But what I did find that on some certain nibs that were very smooth, like this Pilot Custom Heritage SE, it felt a little strange writing with it. They both wrote fine and didn't smear anything, but I found nibs with a little bit more feedback, like Sailor and Platinum, actually was quite enjoyable using this paper. Here I'm using the 3776 Platinum Century, and it was a very, very nice writing experience. But where this got really weird is I tried with different inks and different pens, and Flex just did not work with it. It almost felt like the paper itself was oily. I wrote with a variety of pens, pencils, ballpoint pens, and they all had a little bit of a different feeling, but they all worked fine. But the consistent problem in all types of ink was Flex. It would write the first word or so, and then after that, once the feed was dry, it just didn't seem to want to pull ink down into the feed, and at the end of your word, you just kind of ran out of ink. Strangely though, my Lamy Bauhaus with the unmodified bead nib, which sometimes can be a finicky pen, ended up writing really well on this. The show through was really bad. I wrote on the back side of this so you could see that, and I normally write on both sides of paper with Tomoe River, but this was just confusing to read and to write with. The absolute best writing experience was with my 3776 and my Sailor Rialo, and both of them had waterproof inks in them too. Since both of these kinds of pens are regularly in my rotation, this is definitely a paper I'm going to use. Next is the letter pad, and it is made out of MD paper cotton. I only bought the passport sizes because I wanted to have paper I could tear out of my traveler's notebook. I think particularly with the normal size, you're supposed to be able to tear out one of these pieces of paper and write a letter, which I thought was a little odd. But basically, this is just a memo pad that has a front cover, and it allows you to put like a memo pad inside of your traveler's notebook. The paper handled all kinds of ink, even the iron gall ink, and in flex with no bleed through. Next, I'll talk about how I incorporated these new inserts into my traveler's notebook system. In my video about the Tokyo International Pen Show, I whined that I really wanted to find a notebook that used Takasago premium bank paper. It's available in loose leaf now, but no one's making journals of it yet. I'll link that video in the upper right hand corner. Well, a couple of my Canadian pen friends heard my whining and ended up making me this beautiful Takasago premium bank paper journal. You can see the stitching there on the sides, and covered it with this really cool ice cream cone kind of paper. Candace from Inks and Anchors on Instagram explained to me that this is Coptic binding, where you gather as much as 4 sheets of paper together into a signature and then put them together into a notebook, and they lie nice and flat. Candace and Aziza from Gourmet Pens and their friend sent this to me as a thank you gift. I'll link all their information in the description box in the event you're not already following them. Check them out for beautiful artwork and script. In keeping with the topic about paper, last week's video was about my top choices for Japanese fountain pen friendly paper, and I got a lot of questions about washi paper. And coincidentally, Mitsuko from My Life Mitts gifted me this A5 slim notebook called Soshi. The edges are treated with a kind of chemical or paint that kind of hides dirt on the edges, and it also helps prevent mold and mildew. But the amazing thing, it was a very nice, writable washi paper journal. For me, most washi paper is difficult to write on, but this was actually a very nice writing experience. It handled different kinds of ink very well, and also handled all kinds of flex writing. This writable washi paper journal is made by a small Japanese company, and that's what I like about Mitsuko's website. She carries unusual items from small companies, so if you're looking for something unique from Japan, check out the stationery selection. So now I'd like to show you how the B-Sides and Rarities inserts made me rethink using my traveler's notebook. I had been using the traveler's notebook for about 10 years, and every year I kept adding more and more things to the notebook. The folders, the zip pockets, the tuck-away pockets. I added all kinds of dongles and things until finally one day I realized I could no longer write in it because it was so jam-packed full of things. I understand that many people do enjoy this aspect of the traveler's notebook and may even use their notebook as a wallet. But for me, ease of writing would be the most important thing. So last year I gave away a lot of my inserts and decided to ditch the Traveler's Notebook and went with this plotter, which is an A5 size binder. I figured I could keep all my extra paraphernalia in a zip pouch that also carried this notebook, and then I could just have a nice free writing space. And I also liked the fact that this had so many different kinds of paper that could go into it. Graphilo, Tomoe River, CD Premium paper, Noble Life paper, and cotton paper, to name a few. Because of all the different kinds of paper, it ended up being a better ink test journal than anything else, and that's what it turned into. I keep a separate journal just for my currently inked pens so I can keep track of it. This beautiful leather green cover was gifted to me by April from the Leather Library. So now I have two separate kinds of ink journals and not a regular journal. And I also felt like the A5 was just a little bit too big to carry around with me in my purse. And enter back the Traveler's Notebook. Plus, I wanted to use this hammer somewhere in the video. I first started using the Traveler's Notebook as a kind of scrapbook because when I went to the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, I had to remember from year to year, like, who are the good people to go buy things from. So I put their business cards in there along with some thoughts. And then I realized I really enjoyed this kind of journaling. So I enjoy the scrapbook kind of journaling, and I need a lightweight, compact journal to write in. So why not do both? So I'll use my brown Traveler's Notebook as a kind of scrapbook journal, and I can put whatever I want in it, no matter how bulky it gets, because I'll just be doing it at home. And then I can put the older inserts into these kind of cardboard files, which means I need to make my blue Traveler's Notebook lean and mean. And I'm going to start off first with getting rid of the pencil holder. I'm going to get rid of the folder and pouches and also the bookmark, as I use blotting paper anyways, and that can be my bookmark. I know this elastic band goes through 2 holes, but it's much easier to change out inserts if you just pop a rubber band around the outside. I'll be replacing these old rubber bands along with the elastic that wraps around the outside because it makes a funny bump in the back that's hard to write on. First, I'll cut my blotting paper to fit my Traveler's Notebook. I figure I'll put a kind of cutting mat underneath it. And since I'll be hammering something, maybe I should put some like cardboard underneath that too. I was still worried about my table, so I thought I'd maybe just do it over my knockout block. And I just centered up where I wanted the hole to be over a large hole in the knockout block, and then just kind of banged the screwdriver through it. And the hole came out fine, and it's lined up with the old hole that was on the back side of the notebook. And since I'm not using a bookmark and I like to use that elastic as like one loop of a rubber band, this was pretty straightforward. You can shut that metal pin with a pair of pliers, but a hammer's more fun. And then just snip off the ends. And I noticed my elastic band is completely on the outside, which means I can pull it off whenever I want. I limited myself to one small stone bead as a dongle, and then the Goulet Tomoe River insert, and then the super lightweight paper because I don't really flex on the road, and then the message card refill so I have something I can tear out, but if it ends up being a problem or it's hard to write on, I'll just replace it with another Goulet Tomoe River insert. I stuck my sticker release paper refill in my tin box full of stickers for any odds and ends that are left over. And I stuck my accordion fold paper refill in my scrapbooking Traveler's Notebook, since I can put anything I want in that one. So now I have 2 types of Traveler's Notebook. One lean and mean to write in, and the other one that's kind of slow and big to scrapbook in. People use traveler's notebooks in many different ways for many different reasons, but I tell you, it felt really good to pull a lot of that stuff out of my blue traveler's notebook. It looks like it's going to be a little more useful to me. I'll try to keep you updated to see how this is working out. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate maybe a like or a subscribe, or if you could share this video on your social media.